The morning sun rested low over West Ridge Police Station, stretching long shadows across the worn pavement near its entrance. Officers moved quickly in and out of the building, radios crackling, boots striking the ground, engines humming. It was the type of morning where tempers were short, patience thin, and arrogance moved openly through the halls in uniform. Two officers, Davis and Turner, exited the station with the kind of confidence that comes from unchecked power. They were known in the neighborhood not for fairness or courage, but for their sharp words and even sharper tempers. They believed fear created respect, and anyone slower, poorer, older, or quieter than them simply became another target. As the doors slid open behind them, a man approached the steps leading inside. His walk was slow and steady. No rush, no worry, no panic. His clothes were plain. Old jeans, a faded jacket, and boots worn from years of use. He had no badge, no escort, no official vehicle. Just a calm presence and the quiet confidence of someone who had nothing to prove. Steven Seagal. But neither Davis nor Turner recognized him. To them, he was just an older man walking calmly into a place they believed belonged to them. Turner nudged Davis with a smirk. "Look at this guy," he muttered. "Probably here to complain about a ticket." Davis scoffed. "Let's handle him before he wastes anyone's time." They stepped directly in front of Steven, blocking his path. "Civilians don't get to walk into the station without permission," Davis barked. Steven stopped, not startled, not annoyed, just still. His calm eyes shifted briefly to Davis, then back to the entrance behind them. He said nothing. He showed nothing. And that silence bothered Davis instantly. Turner stepped closer, folding his arms. "You hear him, or are you pretending? This is a restricted area, old man." Still no reaction. The same steady expression, as if their words meant nothing. Turner grew irritated. "Hey, don't ignore us." A few officers inside glanced through the glass doors, noticing the tension but choosing not to interfere. They were used to this behavior from Davis and Turner. Complaints had been made before. Nothing ever changed. Turner moved even closer, now only inches from Steven's face. "You think you can just walk in like you own the place? Move when we tell you to move." Steven slowly tilted his head, observing them with eyes that held more discipline, experience, and strength than both officers combined. Yet he still said nothing. "Are you deaf?" Turner snapped. Steven didn't move. And that stillness, that refusal to meet their aggression, pushed Turner over the edge. Before anyone could react, Turner slapped him. A loud, humiliating slap echoed across the concrete walkway. A few pedestrians gasped. One officer inside stopped mid-step, jaw dropping. Steven didn't touch his cheek. He didn't move back. He didn't raise his voice. He simply lifted his eyes. For the first time, Davis and Turner felt something unfamiliar. Uncertainty. "You want another one?" Davis taunted. "We give the orders here." Steven finally spoke, not loud, not angry, but with a calmness that cut deeper than a shout. "You should think before you act." Davis scoffed. "Oh yeah? And why is that?" Steven looked him directly in the eyes. "Because you just slapped your new police chief." In an instant, every trace of arrogance left their faces. And the real story was only beginning. The tension around West Ridge Police Station didn't fade after Steven spoke those 9 quiet words. "You just slapped your new police chief." Instead, everything seemed to freeze. Davis blinked rapidly, unable to accept what he heard. Turner's jaw dropped, the confidence draining from him. But Steven didn't wait for their reaction. He walked past them, his boots striking the steps with steady confidence. Inside, the station was chaotic. Phones rang non-stop, paperwork stacked high, officers moved from desk to desk, giving orders, answering calls, complaining under their breath. It was the kind of morning where everyone worked while irritated. No one noticed Steven enter, at least not right away. The lobby was crowded. A mother argued about a missing report. 2 men debated over a parking violation. A rookie tried to calm them both. Steven stood near the entrance, observing quietly. His stillness made him stand out. He didn't fidget. He didn't look around nervously. He simply watched, and that alone made some officers uneasy. Upstairs, Sergeant Mills was loudly scolding trainees with the intensity he was known for. Mills believed yelling was leadership and fear was discipline. To him, calm behavior was suspicious. Downstairs, the radio operator shouted, "We're missing the sign-off for today's leadership briefing. Who's supposed to run morning command?" No one responded. Rumors had been circulating for weeks. A new chief was coming, appointed by the mayor after long-standing complaints about misconduct, mismanagement, and public distrust. But no one had met him. No photos, no introduction, Not even a confirmed name. Some said he was overly strict. Others said he was a decorated former agent. One rumor claimed he had a martial arts background. But no one expected the quiet man standing in the lobby. At the desk, Officer Lane finally looked up from her computer. Her fingers froze when she saw Steven. She squinted, leaned forward, blinked again. "Do I know you?" she asked. Steven nodded politely. "I'm here to meet the department." Lane frowned. "Do you have an appointment?" Before Steven could respond, the doors swung open behind him. Davis and Turner rushed in, faces pale, trying to avoid being seen but failing. A group of officers noticed immediately, then looked at Steven, then back at the terrified expressions on the two officers' faces. "What's going on?" someone whispered. "Who is that guy?" another asked. "Why do Davis and Turner look like that?" Steven gave Lane a calm smile. "I'm not here for an appointment. I'm here to begin." "Begin?" she asked. "Begin what?" Before he could answer, the room fell quiet. Detective Rohr, one of the station's most respected officers, walked in with a coffee and a stack of files, mumbling about budget cuts. But the moment he saw Steven, he froze. His eyes widened. He set his coffee down, straightened his uniform, and walked quickly toward him. "Sir," he said clearly. "Chief Seagal, I didn't know you'd be arriving so early." The room fell silent. Lane's mouth dropped. Some officers stiffened. A pen clattered to the floor. Someone whispered, "Chief who?" Rohr cleared his throat. "For anyone who hasn't been informed, this is Mr. Steven Seagal, appointed last night by the mayor as the new chief of police for the West Ridge District." Gasps spread through the lobby. Steven nodded politely. Turner nearly stumbled. Davis gripped a desk for balance. Rohr continued, "The mayor stated that Chief Seagal has full authority to review, reorganize, and correct any misconduct within the station." Some officers straightened with relief. Others shifted anxiously. Rohr turned back to Steven. "We expected your formal arrival at noon. If I'd known." Steven raised a calm hand. "Timing isn't the issue. Conduct is." Rohr nodded as though he understood, though he didn't yet know what had occurred outside. But Davis and Turner knew. Sweat gathered under their collars, their hearts pounding. Steven walked deeper into the station, into the heart of a place these two officers had ruled with intimidation. His presence was quiet, but the message it carried was louder than any siren. A new chief had arrived, and humility was about to be enforced. The station shifted from noisy chaos to stunned silence. Steven's presence changed the atmosphere immediately. Officers whispered quietly. Trainees froze mid-task. Even the loudest sergeants lowered their voices. Davis and Turner hid near the entrance, trying to blend in with rookies, but their uniforms suddenly felt too heavy. Steven walked the main hallway slowly, every step controlled. He didn't need to force authority, he carried it naturally. Some officers avoided his gaze. Others concealed small smiles, hopeful that the station's toxic culture might finally change. A few watched with fear, knowing they were part of the problem. At the end of the hall, Steven paused in front of a display board filled with photos, community events, awards, and portraits of officers honored for good conduct. He studied the board, expression unreadable. Detective Rohr caught up. "Sir, the mayor's letter said you'd start with an internal review. Would you like an office tour, personnel files, or—" Steven quietly interrupted. "I'd like to speak to your officers." Rohr nodded. "Of course. I'll gather everyone." Within minutes, the lobby transformed into an assembly area. Officers lined up, some respectful, some nervous, some relieved. Behind them, Davis and Turner tried to hide behind taller officers, their hearts pounding. Steven began softly, but every word carried weight. "This station," he said looking around, "is more than a building. It's more than uniforms and badges. It is a promise." A few officers stood straighter. "A promise," he continued, "that when someone enters with fear, we provide safety. When a citizen is confused, we offer guidance. When strength is required, we show restraint." His gaze sharpened. "And when arrogance is expected, we prove otherwise." The words settled over the room. Rohr watched with respect. A rookie swallowed hard. An older officer nodded, reminded of why he once joined the force. Steven let the silence settle, then continued. "But I've heard things about this station. Serious concerns, issues ignored, behavior that has no place in a department responsible for the law." The tension grew. Some officers looked at the floor. "And this morning," Steven said, turning slightly, "I saw it myself." Rohr frowned. "Sir, what happened?" Steven didn't answer him. Instead, he looked directly at the back row where Davis and Turner tried to hide. The room shifted immediately. Officers turned to look. Their faces drained of color. Steven spoke calmly, but his voice reached everyone. This morning, 2 officers decided that a quiet man outside the station didn't look important enough to be treated with respect. Turner's legs shook. Davis swallowed loudly. They gave orders without authority. They used force without justification. They chose ego over duty. Gasps spread through the room. Rookie stepped aside, exposing the 2 men. Roar stared, stunned. "Sir, are you saying?" Steven nodded. "They slapped me." The entire room inhaled sharply. Some stared at Davis and Turner with shock. Others with disappointment. Even a few who once admired them stepped away. Roar's expression hardened. "Both of you, step forward." Davis and Turner stepped out from the back row into the open. Turner stammered, "Sir, Chief, we thought." Steven raised a hand and the officer immediately fell silent. "You didn't know who I was," Steven said. "Correct." Davis nodded quickly. "Yes, sir. We had no idea." "That," Steven replied calmly, "is the entire issue." His words were sharp but controlled. He moved toward them with steady, deliberate steps. "You wear badges meant to protect, yet you use them to intimidate. You claim to represent the law, yet you violated it for the sake of your pride." Turner inhaled shakily. "We're sorry, sir, we didn't mean." "Respect," Steven cut in, "is not reserved only for those with authority. It is not for the well-known or for those who can punish you." He stepped close enough that both men flinched. "Respect is for everyone, especially when you assume no one important is watching." The room went still. Some officers felt embarrassed. Some felt relieved that someone had finally said what needed to be said. Others were simply grateful the station was changing. Steven stepped back. "This station," he said, turning to the full room, "needs clarity. It needs discipline. And more than anything, it needs humility." His gaze moved across each face. "If any of you believe authority gives you the right to mistreat the people you serve, you will not remain here. Not under my leadership." Every officer felt the weight of his words. Some nodded firmly. Others looked away. Davis and Turner stood shaking, confidence gone, authority stripped, their future uncertain. The conflict was far from over. It was only beginning. The room stayed silent as Steven finished. His words lingered in everyone's mind. The air felt heavy, unmoving, almost suffocating. No one shifted. No one whispered. No one dared to breathe too loudly. Davis and Turner stood rigid, eyes fixed on the floor like schoolboys caught breaking rules. Their earlier boldness had collapsed into something uncertain and uncomfortable, fear mixed with shame. Steven no longer looked at them. His eyes moved across the room, every badge, every uneasy expression. He wasn't angry. He wasn't seeking revenge. He wasn't trying to embarrass anyone. He wanted clarity. And that made his presence even more commanding. At the far end, Officer Lane stood gripping her desk. She had worked the front desk for 7 years. She had seen arguments, intoxicated citizens, panicked parents, but never the station this quiet. As Steven walked toward the back office, she whispered to the officer beside her, "He's different. He's not yelling or threatening, just calm." The officer nodded. "Yeah, that's what makes it more intense." Roar rushed after Steven, trying to keep up. "Sir, if you want, we can begin disciplinary paperwork right now. The mayor already approved it." Steven lifted a hand. "I'm not here to punish," he said gently. "I'm here to rebuild." Those words struck Roar harder than anger would have. 4 years he had watched the station fall into ego-driven leadership where rank became a weapon, authority a shield, and fear a management tool. Rebuild. The idea felt unfamiliar. Turner exhaled shakily. "We're done. Completely done." Davis elbowed him. "Quiet." But Davis himself couldn't hide the sweat forming on his forehead. A rookie whispered, "They slapped the chief." Another muttered, "Anywhere else they'd be fired already." A third added quietly, "Honestly, someone needed to challenge them." Turner's face flushed red. Davis clenched his jaw so tightly a vein showed at his temple. For the first time they saw the truth. They had led through fear, and fear never lasts. Respect lasts longer, and they had never earned it. Steven continued deeper into the station. The hallway felt different now. Officers stepped aside for him instinctively. Some nodded politely, others lowered their eyes, embarrassed by what had happened. Halfway down, an older, soft-spoken officer, Ramirez, stepped forward. He was the same officer who had tried to intervene earlier when Turner slapped Steven. Chief, Ramirez said gently, I'm sorry about what happened at the door. I tried to stop them but… You did what you could, Steven replied, meeting his gaze. Respect isn't always loud. Sometimes it's shown simply by trying even when others don't. Ramirez swallowed, visibly moved. Officers nearby exchanged glances. Some looked ashamed, some impressed, but all recognized the same thing. This chief would not lead with anger, he would lead by example. Just then the station doors flew open. Everyone turned. A black SUV stopped at the entrance. 3 men in suits rushed inside, carrying folders, tablets, and a sealed envelope with the mayor's crest. The lobby buzzed. Are those city officials? No way, they're from the mayor's office. The men scanned the room until they saw Steven. One straightened his tie and hurried over. Chief Seagal, he said breathlessly, we've been trying to reach you. Your meeting with the mayor was supposed to start in 30 minutes. They were worried something happened. Steven gave a brief, dry smile. I found something more important. The officials exchanged confused glances, sensing tension. Rohr stepped in. There was an incident this morning, he said carefully. Incident? One official asked. What kind? Steven turned slightly, eyes landing on Davis and Turner. The officials followed his gaze and understood immediately. Turner took a shaky step forward. Chief Seagal, sir, please, we're asking for another chance. Davis added quickly, we didn't know. It was a misunderstanding. We thought. Steven raised his hand again. Silence returned instantly. You assumed, he said softly, that your badge allows you to decide who deserves respect. The room stiffened. Turner's eyes filled with panic. Davis swallowed hard. Steven continued, if someone needs a badge to act with dignity, he deserves neither the badge nor the dignity. The lobby stayed still. Steven stepped forward. I haven't decided your future yet, he said. But understand this, the decision will not come from anger. It will come from values. Officers around them felt a chill. Davis and Turner nodded rapidly, unable to lift their heads. Steven turned back to the officials. We'll handle the briefing later. I need to finish something here. He surveyed the room. Some officers looked inspired, others nervous, some newly aware. And with no shouting, no threats, and no ego, Steven Seagal established full control over the station. The confrontation was over. The transformation had begun. The station remained tense. As Steven and the 2 officers entered the main duty room, every employee turned. Some froze mid-motion. A few who had laughed earlier now stood rigid, realizing this was far more serious than a simple misunderstanding. Whispers spread quickly. Is that really Steven Seagal? Why is he here? Did someone slap him? Someone's definitely getting fired. Officer Brent tried to stay composed, but sweat ran down his face. Officer Miller appeared worse, pale, lips shaking, hands trembling as if awaiting a verdict. And Steven hadn't said a word yet. He simply removed his sunglasses, folded them, and placed them on the desk. That small gesture made half the department hold their breath. Engagement prompt. If you're watching this, ask yourself, what would you do if you accidentally slapped someone who turned out to be your own chief? Would you stand silent, or head for the exit? Tell me below, because what happened next was remarkable. Back to the scene. Captain Rodas, unaware of the tension behind him, stepped forward with Seagal's assignment contract. Before he could speak, a senior officer, still unaware of what had happened, walked up casually. He smirked and said loudly, who let this Hollywood guy walk around like he owns the place? Brent's eyes widened. Miller covered his face. Seagal slowly lifted his head, giving the same calm, firm stare he was known for in films. The room froze. Captain Rodas snapped, Officer Daniels, stand down. This Hollywood guy is the new chief. Silence. Absolute silence. Daniels went pale. His jaw dropped as if he had seen something shocking. Then Seagal spoke, voice steady, controlled, serious. I didn't come here to be treated like a celebrity. I came here to work, to fix this department. And that begins now. The room straightened instantly. Nothing moved, not even the old coffee machine. Seagal turned toward Brent and Miller, the officers who had slapped and cuffed him without cause. He didn't yell. He didn't let pride influence him. Instead, he asked something none of them expected. Tell me honestly, is this how you treat the people you're supposed to protect? Today I'm not here as your chief. I'm here as a man who wants the truth. Brent swallowed. His voice cracked. Chief, we made a mistake. We saw you rushing and we thought. You didn't think, Seagal corrected gently but firmly, you reacted with fear, not judgment. Miller stepped forward and said quietly, we're sorry, sir. Truly we regret what we did. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of firing or humiliating them, Seagal stepped closer and placed a hand on Miller's shoulder. Everyone makes mistakes, he said softly. What matters is how you learn from them. From today onward, you'll be part of my training program. 8 weeks relearning protocol, restraint, and respect. The officers exhaled in relief. But Seagal continued. And you'll set an example for the rest of the department. Power is not authority, respect is not fear, and discipline is not aggression. The room remained silent, absorbing every word. A young rookie raised his hand nervously. Chief Seagal, why did you take this job? You could have stayed in Hollywood, lived like a legend. Why come here? Seagal's eyes softened. Because heroes aren't made on screens. They're made in real life. In moments like this, in choices like yours, protecting real people, that's the highest honor. Some officers exchanged glances, a few nodded slowly. The mood shifted from fear to respect. If you're still watching, here's the twist. What Seagal did next surprised everyone in the building, and you don't want to miss it. Back in the room, Captain Rodas finally spoke. So, what's your first order as chief? Seagal didn't hesitate. Every officer will begin new training today. Transparency, discipline, and integrity will be the backbone of this department. He added with a slight smile, let's start by reviewing how not to handle a man walking into your station. The room exhaled. Brent and Miller laughed nervously, relieved to keep their badges. But before they could relax fully, Seagal pointed to the training yard. Move. We have work to do. Officers scrambled, chairs pushed back, standing straight and moving outside like recruits on day one. Seagal picked up his sunglasses, put them on, and followed calmly, confident and composed. The man who had been slapped hours earlier was now the figure every officer respected and admired. Steven Seagal wasn't just the new chief, he was about to change everything. The sun beat down on the training yard. Seagal stood on the asphalt, hands behind his back, posture steady. Officers lined up in uneven rows, some nervous, some embarrassed, others trying to appear composed, clearly shaken by the morning's events. Brent and Miller stood at the front, still rattled by who they had slapped. Officers avoided direct eye contact with them. Seagal scanned the group. We start simple: discipline, awareness, control. 3 things every good officer must master. His voice was calm but carried authority. Every officer listened like students before a respected teacher. Most mistakes don't happen from anger but from fear. Fear leads to panic. Panic leads to poor decisions. Poor decisions cost lives. Brent swallowed, Miller shifted uncomfortably. Seagal pointed at them. You two front and center. The crowd murmured quietly. Brent and Miller stepped forward, heads down but shoulders squared. Seagal addressed the department. These men made a serious mistake. But they also did something many forget. They admitted it. That takes courage. Courage is the first step toward improvement. For the first time since the lobby chaos, Brent and Miller lifted their heads slightly, relief flickering. But Seagal clapped sharply. Now let's train. Officers straightened instantly. He walked the yard, speaking as he moved. Every day you encounter people who are scared, angry, or out of control. Your job is not to escalate but to stabilize. You guide, you don't overpower. He gestured to Brent. Nervous? Brent nodded. Good. Fear keeps you aware. Use it. With a subtle motion, Seagal redirected Brent to the ground. No force, no aggression, just technique. Officers gasped. Brent blinked, confused as Seagal helped him up. Control, not strength. Control. Seagal turned to Miller, demonstrating a different technique, same result. Miller safely knelt on the ground. Officers whispered in awe, some murmuring, No way, did you see that? A rookie said, No wonder they made him chief. Seagal continued teaching, mixing calm explanations with lightning-fast demonstrations. Officers absorbed every second. Gradually, tension shifted to focus and engagement. The yard echoed with footsteps, adjusted stances, and groans when mistakes were made. Seagal moved among them, correcting postures and positions. Remember, he said, you are servants of the law, not soldiers at war. Suddenly, Captain Rodas jogged into the yard, urgency on his face. Seagal raised an eyebrow. We have a problem, Rhodes said. A civilian complaint, not against officers but the department. Alleged corruption, misuse of authority, excessive force. A pattern. Murmurs ran through the officers. Some avoided eye contact. Others stiffened. Seagal stepped closer. Who filed it? Rhodes handed a folder. Victor Hayes. Officers reacted immediately. Miller whispered, not him. Seagal asked, "You know him?" Miller nodded. "Local loudmouth. Records everything, protests all the time." Brent added, "He hates cops." Seagal asked, "Where is he now?" Rhodes, in the lobby waiting to speak to the chief. The timing was suspicious. Same day Seagal became chief. Seagal commanded, "Training continues." "Captain Rhodes with me." Calm, steady, confident, he approached the station. Inside, the lobby buzzed. Every eye turned to Seagal as he entered with Rhodes. Victor Hayes sat at the center, hood up, camera recording, foot tapping, eyes sharp. Smirking, he said loudly, "So, you're the new chief dragged in to clean up this disaster." Officers bristled. Seagal remained calm. Victor tilted his camera toward him. Rhodes stepped forward, but Seagal raised a hand, stopping him. He spoke, calm but firm, "You filed a complaint." "Yes, and it's not my first," Victor said. "But maybe the first one that actually matters. People in this neighborhood are harassed, threatened. Officers abuse power thinking no one will call them out. You're chief now, let's see if you're different." Silence fell. Officers shifted, some angry, some ashamed, others anxious. Seagal asked, "Why do you hate this department so much?" Victor, thrown off, replied, "Hate? I hate bad cops, the ones who think their badge makes them untouchable. My brother was pinned down, cuffed, dragged, he walked with a limp for a year. Nothing happened to the officers. That's why I'm here." Seagal nodded. He didn't defend, didn't excuse, he listened. Victor pressed, "So what will you do? PR speech or real change?" Seagal calmly said, "Show me the complaint." Victor slid the folder across. Seagal reviewed every page carefully, then said, "This doesn't disappear. It will be investigated thoroughly." Victor, surprised, whispered, "You're serious?" Seagal nodded. "And your brother?" Seagal continued, "I want to speak to him." Victor hesitated, then whispered, "He'll talk if he hears it from me." Seagal acknowledged him. Victor turned off his camera voluntarily. An officer murmured, "Never seen him do that." Seagal straightened. "This department is changing. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Officers who fear the truth should fear me more." The room erupted in whispers, shock, fear, respect. Victor rose slowly. "For the first time," he said quietly, "I actually believe something might change." Seagal extended his hand. Victor hesitated, then shook it. A handshake witnessed by every officer, marking the start of a new era.